Each year I'm struck by the fact that it is a painful reality of the Jewish tradition that on our holiest year we have a martyrology service. I suppose we take it for granted, but we only take it for granted because we've been doing it for so long. But I don't think for most religious traditions, when they have their central event of the year, they spend time thinking about all the people in their tradition that have been killed for belonging to their tradition. And while, for understandable reasons, so much of the martyrology service becomes a remembrance of the Shoah, of the Holocaust, remember that the martyrology service has been in the Jewish liturgy for many, many, many hundreds of years, long before the catastrophe of Europe, because the history of the Jews is littered with catastrophes. And each contributed their poetry, their readings, their songs to the martyrology service, beginning with the fall of Israel and Rome and the original Ela Ezkara, These I Remember, which talked about the deaths of the rabbis, of Akiba, of Hananiah ben Terajon, and all of their disciples. And then in the Middle Ages, through various tragedies that struck in Babylonia and elsewhere, through the Crusades, the Inquisition, local tragedies, both East and West, that communities remembered, if not all of world Jewry remembered, and then, of course, culminating in the Shoah. The reality is that the losses are too enormous to adequately remember, because for every person involved in the tragedy, what they lost was their world. And so there would be an understandable bitterness for each generation in thinking that they weren't remembered in our time. It is also true that the martyrology is to us both a caution and a reminder of blessing. For most of Jewish history, people couldn't imagine reciting these words when there was a state of Israel and when Jews could actually defend themselves. That was a remarkable thing. But it is also a caution because the hatreds that motivated so many of these tragedies that are anthologized in the pages of the martyrology, those tragedies are not gone. And so Ela Ezkara, the theme of Ela Ezkara, which is These I Remember, should be part of the theme of the Jewish people, because we have to remember them. We have to remember them in recognition of the fact that if we forget, not only do we betray their memories, but we risk a repetition of what they suffered. So I'm going to ask you to stand with me on page 344